live. We're there for you. ABC4 News at 10 starts now.
And welcome to the ABC4 News at 10 o'clock. I'm Emily Flores.
And I'm Glenn Mills. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We do begin with weather, and if you have stepped outside, you know just how cold it is. This is a live look at Deer Valley. Just looking at that makes me shiver a little.
For the latest on conditions and what we can expect for the rest of this week leading up to the holiday, let's head over to Chief Meteorologist Alana Brophy for the latest. Alana.
With it being a holiday week, we expect the cold, and yes, we've seen it, and it continues out there tonight. Take a look at some of these temperatures throughout the state. We've got single digits in Cache Valley. We're sub-zero in Vernal. Woo, -4. Teens over in Moab. 20s for Cedar City, and the 30s showing up in Washington County. Another frigid night. Where is the cold coming from? It's Arctic air, folks, and that's why we've been below average. We saw it today, and tomorrow we open the door with our northwest flow for that air over Canada to move right into the Beehive State, keeping us below average and pretty frosty when it comes to those temperatures. But it's not just that. We also have inversion, trapping that cold air on the valley floor. That means bad air, and at this hour we've got unhealthy air with elevated particulate matter in Uinta County, Salt Lake County, Cache and Weber and Box Elder counties. So we know that bad air, it wants to stick around. We can't let it, and we won't as we make it through our holiday week. Some changes on the way. There are changes out there right now. Our live look outside shows the cloud cover in Salt Lake County associated with a weak system that is moving through. It's also putting down a tiny bit of moisture right there on the state line. We're going to talk about this little disturbance as it squashes that ridge of high pressure and the storms that will impact your holiday week coming up in my full forecast in just a few moments. Glenn, Emily, over to you.
Thanks so much, Alana. As temperatures drop and emergency shelters hit capacity, those without a home are struggling to find a place to stay warm overnight. ABC4's Alana Rulian speaking to homeless advocates about the conditions they are currently seeing in our shelters.
If you've ever found someone who's frozen to death, it's something you don't forget.
Salt Lake County's homeless population is filling shelters and overflow beds to capacity to escape frigid nighttime temperatures. That's according to State Homeless Services, who says even with an additional 340 overflow beds, there still aren't enough.
We're going to need additional beds to get people out of the cold on real cold nights.
Wendy Gavin with Unsheltered Utah telling me she's received reports of at least 5 people without homes freezing to death since Wednesday night. She says First United Methodist Church is now offering overnight movie nights as a way to provide additional shelter in below freezing temperatures, with over 80 people attending each night they've opened. Bill Tibbetts with Crossroads Urban Center says it's necessary.
When it gets this cold, people will go inside if they're given a chance, and I think that what's happening at that church is real proof of that, because they found 80 people who would not have gotten indoors without the really active outreach they did.
Tibbetts saying homelessness has skyrocketed since the pandemic and worsened with housing not being affordable and inflation rising costs, and it's hurting families.
This is the first winter in over 20 years where there have been families with children turned away from the shelter.
And with the weather being this cold, conditions can be deadly.
It's life-threatening when adults are turned away from the shelter.
Salt Lake City currently has a moratorium preventing new homeless resource centers from being built, but advocates say whether more are built in Salt Lake or in other cities, we simply don't have enough resources.
It's obvious that, we could use more right now.
All right, thank you again. That was Alana Rulian reporting. This evening, people also donating diapers and formula for homeless families who have been turned away from shelters. The drive was put on by Crossroads Urban Center and the Coalition of Religious Communities at the State Capitol building. They held it outside in 10-degree weather so people could empathize with those sleeping outside this time of year. Organizers telling us that more than 100 children have been turned away from shelters during the cold months this year.
The idea of kids sleeping outside in the winter is just, I don't know how anybody could sleep at night.
All right, they're also asking the legislature to use the surplus in this year's budget to go towards more affordable housing. And a Utah charter school canceling classes after officials say students were called out by name on social media and threatened.
Now police investigating 2 14-year-olds. An email sent out late Sunday night to parents of students at Enthos Academy in both Magna and Kearns, telling them to just keep their children home today. Police say the threat against Magna coming from a 14-year-old former student who ran away from home, and police have yet to find her. Police do say, though, they have spoken to the 14-year-old who made the threat against the school located in Kearns, saying he was never a student at the school, also did not have access to guns.
Parents can be found criminally and financially responsible for situations like this. And so it's important for parents to pay attention.
The district attorney will now determine appropriate charges. It's also unclear if the teenager's parents will face any recourse at this time. Classes at both schools are expected to be back tomorrow with an increased police presence for both campuses. Local advocates are pushing Congress to pass the Adoptee Citizenship Act by the end of this year.
The bill would ensure that children adopted by American couples become U.S. citizens.
This is such a critical time for this legislation. Over 500,000 children have been adopted to the U.S. from different countries, right? All of them believing that America is their home. Right. And come to find out that about 25,000 to 49,000 of them actually were never U.S. citizen because of the way our laws are written.
Jones calling Utahns to action, asking you to reach out to your senators because votes are pivotal, saying all of these children have a right to legal citizenship. Jones adding that congressional leaders showing support will help make it equal for children who have been adopted. Coming up on the ABC4 News at 10, the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol riot holds its final public hearing.
And a journey with Craig Worth. He's going to take us back to look at some of the best holiday toys.
Plus freezing temperatures in Lehigh, but the Christmas lights are bright. It's your holiday week, and we've got not just cold air. We're tracking the chance of some storms and additional snow for portions of the state in Utah's most accurate forecast.